Hi guys, here comes the long awaited important rules of spotting error. So rule number 1 says that singular subject takes singular verb and plural subject takes plural verb. On surface it looks quite easy, but sometimes it's disguised with plural numbers at the end of the first clause, as the list of the introduction of etc. Naturally, these takes plural noun and it confuses the students. They think that this is the subject, but actually the real subject is disguised here in form of the list and the introduction, which is singular in itself. So the verb comes as per the real subject. It has to be adhered, and a number of questions are given on this rule. Beginning with article. There are 5 important rules of article besides all those words which take article the or an. The fundamental rule of this article is that whatever is unknown take a and an if that is singular countable number, and whatever is known takes article the. The first rule is that when some proper noun is used as common noun, it takes article the, as the Rama of the Ramayana Bombay is the Manchester of India, Delhi is the London of India. Here the proper noun is compared with the other name on the basis of qualities. In that cases, a proper noun takes article the. The second important rule of article is that wherever of the two comes, sometimes the two is disguised with two proper noun. Wherever of the two or two proper noun is used after of, we use comparative degree of article and take article the before that comparative degree, as who is the prettier of the two girls, which is the larger of the two towns. In this way, this comparative form take article the. The third rule of article, that whenever two actions take place simultaneously, we use comparative degree in both the actions and we use article the before both the comparative degree. The higher you go, the cooler you get, the more you eat, the fatter you become. In this way, we use our comparative degree, but we have to use article the before that. When we move on to other parts of speech, there is a very important rule of pronoun that whenever the singular number of first person, second person and third person come together for some good purpose, we apply the rule of 231. That means first we use you, then we use first person of the third person, that means he, and at last we use the first person, that means you, he and I are going to Delhi. In this way, in the examination we find that this combination is changed and it is given in 1, 2, 3 form, I, you and he, but that's wrong. But wherever the purpose is wrong, this sequence is reversed and it comes as 1, 2, 3. That means first we use I, then you, and thereafter he. I, you and he go to steal. The second rule of this, whenever the plural number of 3 persons come together, we use the rule of article, we use the rule of 1, 2, 3. That means first we use we, then we use you, and thereafter we use they, and it can be used in both the ways, whether it's a good purpose or bad purpose. In the same sequence, the third rule is that whenever we use the possessive adjective of all the 3 forms, we use the rule of 123, such as my, your and his books are the same. Moving further, wherever A comes with something other than number, it always takes singular number of verb. We can explain it. Many A always take singular noun and singular verb. More than one takes singular noun and singular verb. But if we write more than 2, here the subject is 2, we use plural noun and plural verb. If we use more men than one, we use plural noun and plural verb. It is usually seen that any one of the 4 usually appears in your paper. So this set is to be taken care, and noun and verbs are to be applied accordingly. The third rule is that everything, nothing, something, anything, these all take singular verb with it, and it should not be violated anywhere. Next rule says we always use plural noun and plural verb with a number of. Besides number, wherever this A comes along with collective noun, it is considered singular noun and we take singular verb with it. But whenever it comes with a number, it takes plural noun and plural verb. But if we use article the before a number, it takes plural noun, but we use singular verb with it. This is a very important rule and it has to be taken care while attempting such questions. Next rule says that few, a few, and the few. Always take plural noun and plural verb. Little, a little, and the little. It always takes singular uncountable noun and singular verb with it. Furthermore, it is one of the very vital rules of it, because this few and a little gives negative meaning. A few and a little gives positive meaning. So in the examination you will get wherever negative sense of few has to be used, we use a few, and wherever the negative sense of little has to be used, we get a little. So wherever you get these words, be sure that there is some error either in the use of these words with its application. Sometimes few, a few, and the few is used with uncountable noun. It has to be taken care that this is always used with countable noun and it is always used with uncountable noun. In the same way, we generally find the errors given with less and fewer. Both these words are comparative degree, but less is used with the uncountable numbers and fewer is used with the countable number. In the question paper we get where less should be used, we get the use of fewer, and where fewer should be used, it is substituted by less. There is one more thing, lesser. Less is the comparative degree and it is used in degrees of comparison. But lesser is never used in the degree of comparison. It means a little less than before. So it has to be taken care that we always use than with less, but we never use than with lesser, because it is lesser is never used for comparison of anything. The most important rule of this pronoun is that when two noun or pronoun are joined together with such conjunctions as including, excluding, along with, as well as, except, besides, and not, in the company of, accompanied by, we always use verb, possessive adjective and reflexive pronoun only after the second noun and pronoun, but these all three, verb, possessive adjective and reflexive pronoun, come strictly as per the subject. We have to take care of the subject. If the subject is singular, we use singular verb, singular possessive adjective and singular reflexive pronoun after the second noun or pronoun, and if the subject is plural, it is used accordingly. So it is one of the most important rules of pronoun and it should be grasped properly. The other rule of pronoun is that some collective noun such as team, club, jury, family, union, committee, committee, etc. are used if the members of these collective noun act anonymously, we use singular verb with it. But if there is any difference of opinion among the members of these collective noun, we use plural verb with this. We can take the example that the team has come. Here, the team gets down as a unit. But if we say the team has taken its bath, it's a wrong sentence, because bath is such an action that everybody likes to take individually, and whenever the member of these communities act individually, we have to use plural verb, and these are considered plural noun. So this rule is very important and has to be taken care of. There is nominative case and there is objective case. One fundamental rule is that we can never use objective case before verb and preposition, and we can never use nominative case after verb and preposition. If we see main verb plus preposition, nominative case has to come at the beginning of this. That means main verb and preposition always come after nominative case, and after this we always use objective case. We can never make any changes in the structure of these sentences. This is a fundamental rule. Next, auxiliary verb or helping verb. It always comes either right before or right after nominative case. It can never come with objective case. In such, I am going, am I going? Here we see am has to come either after nominative case or it has to come either before nominative case. It can never come with main verb. It can never come after main verb, and it always comes, auxiliary verb and helping verb always comes before the main verb and never after it. So it has to be taken care of. One particular example of this, when I, who is used. Sometimes he, who, they, who. In such cases, one has to take care that whatever the subject is here, the verb of that comes here. That means am. If he is there before who, it always takes the verb according to its precedent subject, and if here it is plural, it always takes plural verb. So whatever the subject is there before who, the verb after who comes just according to that, and it cannot be used in any other way. Students usually get confused when they find who and who. The simple logic of this if every verb has its subject, we use whom, and if any of the verb is without its subject, if every verb has a subject, it takes whom. If any verb does not have its subject, it's who. We can take the example, I know the boy who everybody says will win. If we start from here, no has got its subject, I. Says has got its subject, but will doesn't have any subject. In that case, we have to use who. But if I write, I know in this case, we see that no has got its subject, gave has got its subject, there is no such verb that does not have its subject, and in this case we use whom. So if this rule is clear in the mind of every student, there is no question of any doubt where we have to use who and where we have to use whom. And it is one of the very important rules of pronoun, and usually it surfaces in your paper. Then comes the very important part of adverb, and that is inversion. The rule of inversion says that whenever a sentence begins with an adverb, it takes inversion. That means we have to use subject only after the use of verb. In normal case, the proper structure of making a sentence is first we use a subject, then we use a verb, and thereafter we use an object. But in this case, if the sentence begins with an adverb, it first takes verb and thereafter it takes subject, and this way it reverses the proper structure of the sentence. The important adverbs are no sooner, scarcely, and hardly. Other words are never, so, neither, nor, seldom, barely, rarely, only, with adverbial phrase, only, with adverb of time, direction telling words, location telling words, sentences beginning with here and there. In all such cases, if a sentence begins with these words, we are bound to use inversion. One such example is, no sooner did we come home than we saw a snake. Here we use did and thereafter we use subject. In normal cases, we first use subject, then word. One more important thing, these three words are particularly very important because it hides one other secret. No sooner always take than as a conjunction, and scarcely and hardly always take when as a conjunction. Either the structure of this is wrongly used, that means after these words we use the subject and the verb in the wrong preparation of sentence, or no sooner that should take than is replaced with when, and in the sentences made by scarcely and hardly, instead of when, then is substituted and the spotting error is given. So if this rule is properly understood, boys can avoid a number of mistakes. All these words, if a sentence begins with this, has to be made in inversion, and this chapter has to be studied properly because it acts as a vital tool in the translation of sentences also. Wherever we use one of the, it always takes a plural noun. In the examination, we use singular noun with this, and it takes singular verb. But if as an example, one of the boys has secured 100% marks, but in the examination we get the use of singular noun here instead of plural noun, and it is often quoted question in your examination. So it should be taken care of. Each other is always used for two persons, and one another is always used for more than two persons. It is a regularly quoted error given in your spotting error. This each other is used for more than two persons, and this one another is used for two persons. It has to be taken care how many persons are there, and accordingly the use of this should be decided. There are words any, some, many. We can never use any in an affirmative sentence, and it is always used in negative or interrogative sentence. Likewise, some is always used in an affirmative sentence, and it can never be applied in a negative or interrogative sentence. Many. There is a great confusion about the use of this in the mind of the students, and they use it freely wherever they want, but many can be used as subject in the affirmative sentence, and it can never be used in the object of a affirmative sentence. Actually, many is used only in negative and interrogative sentence, and its use in object of the affirmative should always be avoided. Many in affirmative sentences is substituted by several, a great number of, or a lot of, or lots of. So it can never be used in the object of a sentence, and if it comes in the object of a sentence, it's an error. These are the 5 words that has to be cared very minutely, because between is always used between 2 persons, and it can never be used for more than 2, but in the question paper this is used with more than 2 persons, and there the error is given. Among and amongst. Among is used with the living being and before consonant, and amongst is used with the living being but before a vowel. Mostly it is reversed. Amongst is used with the words beginning with the consonant, and among is used with the words beginning with vowel. It has to be taken care of. Amid. Amid is used for non-living being, and it is used before consonants. But amidst is used with non-living thing, but with the words that begins with a vowel. So amidst can never be used with living thing or with the words beginning with consonant, and in this same way, amid it cannot be used for living being, and it cannot be used before vowel. So this application should be taken care of. Being. If there is a non-living thing after being, we have to use it. Mostly in the paper, being is used with non-living thing without showing it in the beginning, and the mistake is here itself. Whenever being is used with a non-living thing, it always takes it with it. There are some prepositions that are mostly quoted, and these are consist of when it is substituted by comprises. We see that in the error part of the spotting error, of is used with this. Of is always used with consist, but it is never used with comprises. In the same way, we use of with in spite, but we never use of with despite. We use for after wait, but we never use any preposition after await, for is already included in this await. One golden rule of English is that we always use the first form of verb with do, does, did. We always use the first form of verb with all the models such as can, could, shall, should, will, would, may, might, must, and ought to. But we use these models in passive form also, and whenever these models are added with be, we have to use third form of it. Do, does, did is never used in passive voice, so it does not take anything with it. But there are such words as get, had, get, being, been, be. It always takes third form of verb. It always takes third form of verb, and it is applied in passive form. Get or got always take the third form of verb after it. In the same way, having always take the third form of verb with it. If a sentence begins with one, it takes once as a possessive adjective and oneself as the reflexive pronoun of it. But if we see someone, anyone, everyone, or no one as a subject of this, it takes his as a possessive adjective and himself as reflexive pronoun. In most of the cases, and generally in 90% papers, we find the mistake of this one given where his is used with one or one is used with someone, anyone, everyone, or no one. So this thing has to be taken care. If the subject of a sentence is one, it always takes once as a possessive adjective and oneself as reflexive pronoun of it. But if the subject of any sentence is someone, everyone, no one, anyone, it always takes his as a possessive adjective with it, and we use himself as a reflexive pronoun of that. We have to be very careful in the use of to be. If there is an object in a sentence, it always takes objective case after it. But if there is no object in a sentence, to be always take nominative case after it. For an example, we can see, I don't want to be he. Here there is no object in the sentence, and we have to use nominative case here. But if you put an object here in the between of the sentence, we have to take objective case after this. For an example, we can see here we have used an objective, and if there comes an objective in the middle of the sentence, we have to use the objective case of this. So to be has to be observed very carefully if it has any object before it or not. If there is no object before it, we use nominative case, and if there is an object before it, we use objective case. And it usually surfaces in the examination. Let always takes an objective case with it, and we can never use a nominative case in the sentences that begins with the let. As let me go, let him go. If I say let I go, it's a wrong sentence, as let never takes an objective case with it, never takes a nominative case it, and it always takes an objective case with it. In the same way, lest, it means, it gives a negative meaning, and we never use a negative word with it, and we always use should with it. The students are confused with the use of some other verb, and it should be cared that we can never use any other model with lest other than should. Mostly the should word is substituted by may, and the boys should not be confused because there is only one model that comes with the less, and that is should. If the students get any other model or other helping verb, that's a wrong application of the rule. Students mostly get confused with the use of apostrophe s. The rule of this applying this apostrophe s is that we use apostrophe and s with the singular nouns, and we just use the sign of this with plural noun. But the condition is that we should derive the plural with adding s, and the rule is that if a pronoun is derived with the use of s, we never use s after apostrophe s, and we just use the sign of apostrophe s. As for example, girl's book. The book can be of a single girl, but if we say girls' hostel, it is wrong because we can never get a single girl residing in a single hostel, and we have to use girls' hostel because the hostel belongs to each and every girl, and here we have to use this in plural form, and we just have to use the apostrophe s. But if it's a singular noun, we have to use apostrophe and s both. But in some of the noun we get the plural without adding s. These are men, women, mice, teeth, feet, lice, etc. All these words are plural, but we see that we don't use s in making these plural, and in this case, if we have to apply apostrophe s, we have to apply the sign and s both with these one. There are two nouns that we make plural adding with ren, and these two nouns are children and brethren. Here again we can see that we have made this plural, but we have not used s, and in such cases we have to use s apostrophe s with both the cases. This rule is applied only in the case where we get the plural of the noun adding s. There is one more vital rule, that if we write plural number, we have to use plural noun, 50 feet. But if there comes a hyphen before plural number, a hyphen always take a singular noun, and we have to write this. We cannot write feet here if we use hyphen, because it always takes a singular noun after hyphen. Mostly the boys get confused here. In the same way, in the use of compound nouns, sister-in-law, it's a single sister-in-law, but fortunately someone has got 6 sister-in-laws, so we have to make sisters in law. The plural will be used in this way, and if we have to use apostrophe s, we cannot use apostrophe s with this. We have to use apostrophe s. If I have to stay in the house of my sister-in-law, that I have to say that I stayed in the house of my sister-in-laws. But if we have to make the plural of this, we make it plural. The main word of the compound noun is made plural. But we have to use apostrophe s. We use it with the last word of the compound noun. There are some words such as know and learn. If we use any other verb after these two words, we have to use a question word in between. As I know how to write, I learn how to speak. One important error that is given in the narration chapter is that is used before question word. If there is a question word, we can never use if, whether, or that before a question word. In the sentences you will get, he asked me that where I was going. In such cases, where is a question word and it can never take that before it. In that case, the use of that is wrong. Thereafter, once again in the interrogative sentences of narration, the fundamental rule is that we use double question in direct narration, but we never use double question in indirect narration, such as if it is a direct statement, we use question word and is together. In that way, we use double question in it. But when we change it in indirect, what we write, I asked, what? Now, we don't use was here because we first use subject and only after that we use verb. We never use what was in indirect. We use what plus subject plus was. So it is an often quoted error in your spotting error. So it has to be taken care that in direct narration we use double question, but in indirect narration we never use double question. Too much and rather than takes unpleasant adjective after them. Too much pain or noun. These takes unpleasant thing. but fairly and much to take pleasant thing after them. There are some words wherein not is hidden, such as forbid, unless, TOO2, until, seldom, few, little. These are the words that consist a negative sense with them, and we have to take care that we cannot use not with this. In this case, if the use of the negative word comes in the same clause where these words are used, it's a wrong application. We can never use not with any of these in the same clause.